December 4th, 1977, a man placed a crown on his own head while his country starved. The ceremony lasted hours. The consequences lasted decades. In a nation where most citizens lived in extreme poverty, gold-plated carriages rolled through the streets of Bangui. Imported horses stamped on freshly laid pavement. A throne, cast in gold, sat beneath floodlights powered by generators brought in solely for the event. The coronation cost between 20 and 22 million US dollars, an estimated 1/3 of the country's annual budget. There was no vote, no referendum, no dynasty. By decree alone, the Central African Republic became the Central African Empire. At its center stood Jean-Bédel Bokassa, soldier, president, and now emperor, crowning himself not as a symbol of continuity, but as an assertion that the state and the man were indistinguishable. This was not the beginning of his rule. It was its revelation.
Colonel Bokassa only wants to collect medals, and he is too stupid to pull off a coup d'etat.
Bokassa had taken power more than a decade earlier. On January 1st, 1966, he seized control of the government in a military coup, overthrowing his cousin, President David Dacko. Bokassa, a former officer in the French colonial army, presented the coup as a corrective, discipline replacing disorder, authority replacing drift. France, the former colonial power, recognized the new government within days. From the outset, Bokassa ruled personally. Political parties were dissolved. Parliament was sidelined. Opposition figures were detained or forced into exile. The military became both the backbone of the state and the instrument of repression. Promotions were granted by loyalty. Punishment was arbitrary and often public. Government ministries continued to exist, but decision-making remained centralized. Bokassa presided over cabinet meetings in uniform, often issuing orders without consultation. The boundary between state policy and personal command steadily eroded. In 1972, Bokassa declared himself president for life. 4 years later, he went further. In December 1976, he announced that the republic would be transformed into an empire, with himself as emperor. The justification was couched in language of dignity, stability, and national pride. The reality was theatrical absolutism. The coronation the following year was staged with meticulous excess. Foreign dignitaries were notably absent, sending representatives instead. The empire did not alter governance. It magnified it. Bokassa's rule became increasingly erratic and violent. Reports accumulated of torture, disappearances, and summary executions. Former officials later testified that Bokassa personally oversaw beatings and killings, sometimes within palace grounds. Fear replaced procedure. Loyalty was enforced through proximity to power, not law. The most damaging rupture came in 1979. That year, the government ordered school children to purchase expensive uniforms bearing the imperial emblem. When families protested, security forces responded with mass arrests. Dozens of students were detained at Ngaragba prison. Many were beaten. Some were killed.
If Giscard deposed me for the massacre of children, it is false!
International outrage followed. France, which had long supported Bokassa as a strategic ally, withdrew its protection. In September 1979, while Bokassa was abroad, French troops supported a coup that restored David Dacko to power. The Central African Empire ended as abruptly as it had been declared. Bokassa fled into exile. There's an old African proverb that became quite famous during those days.
When elephants fight, the grass suffers. When elephants make love, the grass still suffers.
What remained was evidence. Investigations uncovered mass graves, prison testimonies, and financial records documenting the diversion of state resources for personal use. Former guards and officials described direct orders issued by Bokassa himself. The testimony of Philippe Linguisa, Bokassa's former chef at the Villa Colongo, provided the most stomach-churning evidence that damned the emperor.
I saw the body of a man. It was hanging by a hook. He referred to human meat as sardines.
The imperial spectacle collapsed under the weight of documentation and treason. Witnesses testified to a pattern of personalized violence, acts carried out not under law, but by command. Bokassa denied responsibility. He claimed exaggeration.
I am not a cannibal. I assure you on my honor as a Christian that I am not a cannibal.
He invoked national necessity. In 1987, he was convicted and sentenced to death. The sentence was later commuted to life imprisonment and eventually reduced again. He was released in 1993.
I am the 13th apostle of Christ.
Under a general amnesty, and died 3 years later. The empire he declared lasted less than 3 years. The institutions he dismantled took decades to rebuild. Jean-Bédel Bokassa's reign remains a case study in unchecked power. How authority, when detached from accountability, can transform governance into performance and leadership into personal theater. He did not rule as an emperor because the country demanded it. He ruled as one because no mechanism remained to stop him.